Hey there, freaky fiends, and welcome back for another dose of bizarre and captivating tales. I'm Adrian.
And I'm Julia.
Are you ready to explore some seriously freaky stories today?
Always ready for a wild ride, Adrian. What strange and wonderful worlds are we venturing into today?
Well, tonight we've got two stories
Okay.
that'll take you from a town where the supernatural is just another Tuesday to the heart of an ancient forest where a being of clay embarks on a journey of self-discovery.
Sounds captivating already.
Perfect, because before we get started, don't forget to rate and follow the show for more freaky stories.
Every single day.
Now let's kick things off with our first story set in a place called Havenwood. Get this. It's a town where supernatural beings live openly like it's the most normal thing in the world.
Hold on, a town where vampires grab coffee alongside werewolves? I'd love to see the zoning laws in that place.
Right, but just imagine the culture shock for two ordinary guys, Mike and Josh, who stumble upon this hidden world picture. They're out for a late night snack when they witness a full-blown supernatural brawl in a dark alley. We're talking fangs, claws, and some serious otherworldly combat.
Wow. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I bet their appetite vanished pretty quickly.
You bet it was a total holy guacamole moment for them. But here's the kicker. They're the only ones who saw it. So the next morning, they get a visit from two very serious-looking guys in black suits, Agents Smith and Jones.
Oh no, not the men in black. I can already sense the secrecy and the you didn't see anything vibe.
Yeah, exactly. It's the classic trope, right? Smith and Jones are all about maintaining the veil between the supernatural and the human world, so they whisk Mike and Josh away to Havenwood for their safety and, well, to keep them quiet.
So they're thrown headfirst into this town where the impossible is possible. I'm curious, how do they react to such a drastic shift in reality?
Well, Josh, being a total fantasy nerd, absolutely thrives. He finds a D&D group, but instead of playing with other humans, he's rolling dice with actual elves and dwarves. Mike, on the other hand, isn't so thrilled.
Okay.
He's stuck in what he calls witness purgatory, just trying to process this insane new reality.
It's like stepping into a parallel universe where everything you thought you knew is turned upside down. That kind of adjustment would take time, even for someone who loves fantasy.
Absolutely. But just when they think they're getting a handle on Havenwood, things take a dark turn.
Uh-oh.
A string of murders starts plaguing the town, and guess what? The victims are all supernatural residents.
A supernatural murder mystery in a town full of supernatural beings. That's a whole new level of complexity. I'm guessing our men in black aren't exactly equipped to handle this, right?
You nailed it, turns out. Paranormal on paranormal crime isn't in their handbook. So who do they turn to? You guessed it.
Ooh.
Mike and Josh, the two ordinary guys who just happened to witness a vampire tussle with a werewolf.
Oh my gosh.
Suddenly, they're amateur detectives in a world they barely understand.
That's a recipe for chaos, but also a lot of fun. What skills do they bring to this investigation? They're hardly seasoned paranormal investigators.
Well, Josh, with his encyclopedic knowledge of fantasy lore, becomes the brains of the operation.
Okay.
And Mike, turns out he has a surprising talent. He can communicate with gnomes.
Wait, gnomes? Those little mischievous garden dwellers? That's unexpected.
I know, right? But it proves surprisingly useful gnomes, it turns out. Know everything that's going on in Havenwood. They're like the town gossips, except they're actually reliable.
So what kind of dirt do these gnomes dish out? What clues do Mike and Josh uncover?
They start piecing together a puzzle of ancient rivalries, uncovering shady potion dealings, and hearing whispers about a creature so terrifying it was banished centuries ago.
Ooh, banished creatures and ancient grudges? Havenwood has more secrets than I initially thought.
Right, and all these clues lead them to an abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. Inside, they find their prime suspect, a menacing figure lurking in the shadows, fangs glinting in the dim light. They're convinced it's the legendary vampire, back to wreak havoc on Havenwood.
An abandoned mansion and a spooky figure. This has all the classic elements of a good mystery, albeit a supernatural one.
It does, doesn't it? But remember, these aren't seasoned ghost hunters. They're just two normal guys.
Right.
Caught in an extraordinary situation trying to make sense of it all.
Okay, so what happens when they confront this supposed vampire? Do they run screaming, or do they face their fears head-on?
Well, they try to be brave, but in a moment of panic, Josh throws open a curtain, flooding the room with sunlight. He's thinking classic vampire weakness. This will stop it in its tracks.
That's what anyone would think, right? Sunlight and vampires don't mix, so what happens? Does the creature burst into flames?
Not quite. Instead of recoiling, the creature just smirks and steps into the light. Its skin doesn't burn. Instead, it starts to shift and change. Fur sprouts, claws extend, and a terrifying growl shakes the room.
Hold on, so it wasn't a vampire at all, they were tricked.
Exactly. It turns out they'd been chasing a shape-shifting werewolf with a flair for the dramatic Peko card. This creature was deliberately playing the vampire card, trying to mislead them.
Wow, that's a clever twist. This werewolf is playing the long game, but what's its end game? What's it trying to achieve in Havenwood?
Its plan is actually pretty sinister. It wants to cause chaos, stir up resentment between the supernatural factions, and then seize control of Havenwood in the ensuing turmoil.
That's a cunning plan, especially in a town where different supernatural beings are already trying to coexist.
You got it. This werewolf was playing on existing tensions, hoping to exploit them for its own gain. But just as it's about to strike again, Mike, in a stroke of pure luck, whips out Josh's trusty D20 and throws it at the creature.
A D20? Seriously? Are you telling me that their fate rests on a dice roll?
I'm completely serious, and you won't believe this. He rolls a natural 20.
No way, talk about a clutch roll. Did it banish the werewolf back to the Shadow Realm?
Not exactly, but it was pretty close. The dice ricochet off a nearby statue, triggering a hidden trapdoor. A giant cage slams down from the ceiling, capturing the werewolf. Talk about divine intervention, or maybe just incredibly good luck.
What an incredible turn of events. So the town is saved, the werewolf is caged. What happens to our unlikely heroes?
Well, Havenwood is in an uproar, to say the least. Everyone's trying to figure out what just happened. Josh is hailed as a hero, the guy who saved the town with a lucky dice roll.
Uh-huh.
And Mike, well, he's just glad the excitement is over. Even Agents Smith and Jones finally show up, totally bewildered but impressed by their unexpected success.
I bet those agents were kicking themselves for underestimating Mike and Josh. So what becomes of our accidental heroes? Do they get a medal? A parade?
You know, it's funny. Smith and Jones actually offer them jobs in the Paranormal Relations Division. It's like they've gone from accidental witnesses to official supernatural investigators overnight.
That's quite the career change. Do they accept? I mean, they're technically still stuck in witness protection, right?
They do. They decide to embrace this crazy new life in a town where the impossible is possible. Instead of seeing witness protection as a punishment, they choose to see it as an opportunity to explore a world they never knew existed.
That's a fantastic way to end that story. They started as two ordinary guys in the wrong place in the wrong time, but in the end, they found purpose and belonging in the most unexpected way.
Absolutely. It just goes to show that sometimes the most extraordinary adventures begin with the most ordinary moments.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the first half of our journey. Tonight, we've got another story lined up.
Oh.
And this one takes us from the hustle and bustle of Havenwood to the quiet solitude of a crumbling cottage where a creature of clay begins to awaken.
I'm already hooked. Bring on the next tale.
You got it.
All right. You've left me hanging with that last cliffhanger. What's this next story about? A creature of clay awakening. That sparks my curiosity.
This one's a bit different. We're leaving the bustling streets of Havenwood and journeying into a world of ancient magic and self-discovery. Our main character this time. A golem, but not just any golem.
Okay.
This one might just have a heart.
A golem with a heart. That's a fascinating concept. Aren't golems typically depicted as mindless beings following orders without question? It seems contradictory to their very nature.
That's exactly what makes this story so intriguing. This golem begins its existence, just as you described, molded from clay, brought to life by an aging sorcerer, and immediately thrown into the chaos of battle. Imagine being born into a world of violence with no understanding of anything beyond your immediate purpose.
That's a jarring entry into existence, to say the least. No gentle awakening, just instant warfare. It makes you wonder about the ethical implications of creating life for such a destructive purpose.
It definitely raises some questions, but even amidst the chaos and destruction, this golem starts to experience something unexpected feelings. Imagine an ache in its clay core, a strange urge to protect its creator, even while fulfilling its programmed purpose of destruction. It's almost as if it's fighting against its very nature.
That's where the idea of a heart comes into play, right? Even though it's made of clay, this golem seems to be developing emotions, a sense of empathy that goes beyond its intended function. It's fascinating to think about how sentience might emerge in unexpected places.
Exactly, and this internal conflict only intensifies when the sorcerer, mortally wounded in battle, utters his final command to the golem, Hydlern. It's a cryptic message full of unspoken, meaning it's almost as if he knew there was more to this golem than just brute strength, a potential for growth and change that extended beyond the battlefield.
That's a powerful final command filled with a sense of hope and possibility for the golem's future. It suggests that the sorcerer saw something unique in his creation, a spark of something beyond its initial programming. So what happens next? Does the golem obey this final command?
It does. The golem seeks refuge in the sorcerer's crumbling cottage, surrounded by remnants of a life dedicated to magic scrolls, potions, strange and wondrous artifacts, and within that solitude, cut off from the world it was created to destroy, it begins to learn.
But how does a golem learn? It doesn't have a brain in the traditional sense. What
No.
does this process of learning look like for being made of clay?
That's the beauty of this story. The golem learns through observation, through mimicking the world around it. It tries to replicate the sounds of birdsong, the way squirrels bury acorns, the rustling of leaves in the wind. Its attempts are clumsy, almost comical at times, but there's an earnestness to its efforts that is incredibly endearing.
It's like watching a child explore the world for the first time, filled with a sense of wonder and a desire to understand everything. There's a purity to that kind of learning, unburdened by preconceived notions or societal expectations.
That's a perfect way to put it. And as the golem immerses itself in this process of observation and mimicry, something else begins to happen. It starts to feel, it experiences the warmth of sunlight on its stone skin, the gentle caress of rain, the music in the rustling leaves. It's as if its senses are awakening, expanding beyond its initial programming.
It's becoming more than just a tool of destruction. It's developing a connection to the world, experiencing its beauty and complexity in ways that its creator may never have intended.
Exactly. And this newfound awareness extends to the villagers who live near the cottage. At first, they're terrified of this giant creature lurking in the woods. It's understandable. They only know the legends and stories of golems as destructive forces. But then they start to witness its actions. They see it guide a lost child back home, save a harvest from a raging fire, even clumsily attempt to help with chores.
A golem doing chores. That's a delightful image. I can just picture it trying to milk a cow or sweep a floor with those large, clumsy hands. It's heartwarming to think about how its actions begin to challenge their preconceived notions of what a golem is.
It is, isn't it? The golem's actions embody the classic archetype of the gentle giant, a being of immense power that chooses to use its strength for good, for protection and care, rather than for destruction. And the villagers respond to this unexpected kindness. They begin to accept it, to trust it, to see it as something more than just a monster.
It's a beautiful example of how actions can speak louder than words, how genuine compassion can bridge even the widest of divides. But I'm sensing, but coming here, this newfound harmony can't last forever, can it?
You're right, this peaceful coexistence is disrupted one day when a group of knights arrives at the village. They've heard tales of this powerful golem, and they see it as a weapon, a tool to be exploited for their own gain. They attempt to conscript it, to bend it to their will.
Oh no, this is where things take a turn for the worse. I can already feel the tension rising.
The knights attack, their swords and spears clanking against the golem's stone hide. But something remarkable happens. The golem doesn't fight back in the way they expected, doesn't lash out with its immense strength. Instead, it stands firm, using its body as a shield to protect the villagers from harm.
That's a powerful statement. It's choosing to defend, to nurture, to protect those who have shown it kindness, even though it was created for a different purpose entirely. It's a clear rejection of its original programming, an act of defiance that speaks volumes about its evolving sense of self.
Exactly, and this act of defiance has another unexpected consequence. As the knights retreat defeated and bewildered, the golem experiences something new, something it can't quite name, a sense of satisfaction, a feeling of rightness. It's like its actions have finally aligned with its true purpose, a purpose that it is discovering on its own, independent of its creator's intentions.
It's like a piece of a puzzle falling into place, a sense of clarity emerging from the confusion the golem is beginning to understand who it is, what it stands for, what happens to the golem after this. Does it continue to protect the village?
It does for a while, but something is shifted within it. It knows that its journey is far from over, driven by this newfound sense of self. The golem returns to the sorcerer's cottage, searching for answers among the dusty scrolls and arcane artifacts, and there amidst the remnants of its creator's life, it finds something profound, a name etched into the wall.
Talos.
Talos. It's a strong name, a name that speaks of power and purpose. It makes me wonder if the sorcerer knew all along that his creation would eventually transcend its intended purpose, that it would find its own path in the world. It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? And Talos, he embraces this name as a symbol of his newfound identity. It's no longer just a nameless golem, a tool of destruction. It's Talos, a being with a past, a present, and a future that he is determined to shape on his own terms.
So what does Talos do with this newfound freedom? Where does his path lead him? Does he remain in the village, or does he venture out into the wider world?
He chooses to venture out to explore the world beyond the familiar confines of the village and the forest. He's driven by a thirst for knowledge, a desire to understand his place in the world. He encounters new creatures, new landscapes, new challenges, always using his strength for good, guided by the compassion that has blossomed within him.
He's on a journey of self-discovery, embracing the unknown with a sense of wonder and purpose. It's inspiring to think about how he's defied his initial programming to become something more, something truly unique.
It is, isn't it? But his journey doesn't end there along the way. He encounters a wise and just king who has heard tales of Talos' unique nature, a golem with a heart, a being of immense power that chooses to act with compassion and restraint.
This is where things get interesting. How does the king react to Talos? Does he see him as a weapon to be controlled, a force to be harnessed for his own purposes?
Surprisingly, no. The king summons Talos to his court, not to command him, but to ask him a simple yet profound question. What do you choose, creature of clay?
Wow, that's powerful. The king recognizes Talos' agency, his ability to make his own choices, to define his own destiny. It's a recognition of his sentience, his inherent right to self-determination. It's a far cry from seeing him as just a tool or a weapon.
Exactly. And Talos, he reflects on everything he's experienced, the battles, the solitude of the cottage, the kindness of the villagers, the aggression of the knights, the discovery of his name. And in that moment of quiet reflection, he makes his choice.
Don't leave me in suspense. What does he choose? What path does he carve for himself?
He looks at the king, his gaze steady, and in a voice that rumbles like shifting earth, he says, I choose to carve my own path.
That sends chills down my spine. It's such a perfect encapsulation of his journey, of being created for one purpose, but through experience and self-discovery, choosing to define his own existence, to embrace the freedom to be more than what he was initially intended to be.
It's a powerful statement, and the king, he understands its significance. He doesn't try to control Talos or dictate his actions. Instead, he offers a simple yet profound piece of advice. Then serve as you see fit, Talos. There's strength in gentleness, and a heart, be it clay or flesh, is a warrior's greatest weapon.
That's beautiful. It's an acknowledgement that true strength lies not in brute force, but in compassion, in empathy, in the willingness to protect and care for others. So what happens next? What does Talos' self-carved path look like?
That's the beauty of this story. It leaves us with a sense of hope, a feeling of infinite possibility. We see Talos walk out of the castle, not as a weapon, and not as a servant, but as a being of his own, making ready to explore the world and continue his journey of self-discovery, guided by the compassion that burns within him. We don't know exactly where his path will lead, but we know that he'll face each new challenge with courage, kindness, and an unwavering commitment to using his strength for good.
That's a wonderfully hopeful ending to a story that began in such a dark and violent place. It reminds us that even in the face of adversity, even when we're created for purposes that seem to define us, we have the power to choose our own paths, to discover our own meaning and purpose in the world. It's a powerful message that resonates deeply.
It is, isn't it? It reminds us that we are all, in a sense, creatures of clay, molded by our experiences, shaped by the choices we make. And like Talos, we have the power to choose compassion, to choose kindness, to choose to use our strengths to make the world a better place. So, Julia, we journeyed from a town where the supernatural is just another part of life to a quiet forest where a golem discovered its own heart.
Yeah, and it's amazing how these stories, they take these fantastical concepts and weave them into narratives that make you think and feel.
Right, like in Havenwood, you have this clash between the ordinary and the extraordinary. Mike and Josh are just average guys thrown into this crazy situation.
And they adapt and makes you wonder how you'd react if your world suddenly shifted like that.
Exactly. Would you embrace the chaos like Josh or struggle to adjust like Mike?
Tough question.
Yeah.
Then there's Talos, whose journey really got to me.
Yeah.
It's all about breaking free from expectations.
Yeah, he was literally made for destruction.
Right.
But he chose a different path.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have the potential to choose who we want to be, regardless of where we come from.
It's about finding that inner strength, that heart, even if it's made of clay, right?
Absolutely. And I think both stories touch on this idea of finding your purpose in unexpected places. Mike and Josh find theirs in Havenwood, and Talos finds his by venturing out into the world.
It's like saying that adventure can be found anywhere, even in the most unlikely circumstances.
And that sometimes the most ordinary moments can lead to the most extraordinary discoveries.
Freaky Fiends, we want to hear from you. Head over to our socials and tell us what resonated with you from tonight's stories. Did you find yourself drawn to the mystery of Havenwood?
Yeah.
Or the heartwarming journey of Talos?
And if you enjoyed tonight's dose of freaky stories, don't forget to rate and follow the show so you don't miss out on any more spine-tingling tales.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Freaky Fiends. Until next time, keep exploring the strange and wonderful, and remember, there's always a new adventure waiting just around the corner.
Good night, everyone. Sleep tight. And don't forget to keep your D20 handy. You never know when you might need a natural 20.
See you next time for more freaky stories.